Hello, everybody. It is Pat from Pat's Chats. And if you know, then you know. Okay, so already round one of the NBA playoffs is upon us. I realize the first day has already got past me, so I'm just going to try to catch up here. And you're going to be like, well, if you're going to make predictions, you already have an inside scoop on the first half of the series. You are right, and I apologize for being late. So instead, to make it up to you, I will make my predictions for the entirety of the NBA playoffs. I'm calling them now. This is day 2 of the first round, so I feel like it's early enough that I still have some credibility if I get them right, which my track record isn't great, except I got both of the last 2 of the play-in, so I did get those. All right. So we're going to pull up my fancy little NBA bracket here. I wish I could put it on the screen. I'm not that smart yet, but I will get there someday. And here we go. So, in the West, we have number 1 Phoenix Suns playing number 8 New Orleans. New Orleans is super fun, and I'm so happy that they beat the Clippers. That was awesome, but they're done. Phoenix is going to run that like a practice, and they're going to have a gentleman's sweep at best. Just Phoenix is really, really good. Number 1 record in the league this year. It's not too complicated. 1 versus 8, and Phoenix is going to win. Let's move on down. The next one is a really, really good matchup. Dallas Mavericks versus the Utah Jazz, until Luka Doncic got injured. Luka Doncic, in my opinion, is the MVP this year, and without him, man, they have to work really, really hard. Case in point, Jalen Brunson yesterday played his heart out. Jalen Brunson played an amazing game, and they still fell short to the Utah Jazz, because Utah is a solid fundamental team. Rudy Gobert, Spider Mitchell, and of course they're ran by Mike Conley, who's able to control the flow of the game very well. And then Bogdanovich, it just shot the lights out, and that's what they would do every day. And I would have taken Dallas to win if Luka was there, because Dallas still only was within a 1 possession game at like a minute left. But over the course of a series, if Luka's not available, we're going to take the Utah Jazz. Utah Jazz in 6, 5. Next, we got the Warriors versus the Nuggets. Golden State Warriors, Denver Nuggets. We're not going to complicate it. We're just going to say Warriors are going to win. Warriors were amazing in the first half of the season. Kind of became average in the second half of the season. But they have young players making breakout stuff. They're well coached. They have veterans on the team to help them. As long as like Jordan Poole and Gary Payton II, as long as they're just playing their roles, they're going to be just fine. So the Warriors are going to move past the Nuggets, because Nikola Jokic, who's MVP candidate, like I said, he does a lot with very little. This time it's going to be too little. And the next one, probably the matchup in the first round in the West that's the most exciting, is the Minnesota Timberwolves earn their spot in the play-in versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Both these teams are young, possibly the 2 youngest teams in the playoffs. And they're going to run. So if you want to see like fast-paced, moving, kind of like fly by the seat of your pants basketball, this is going to be awesome. But I'm going to take the Memphis Grizzlies to win that one. But it's being everyone's so young, probably going to take 6 games, because they're going to make a lot of mistakes, a lot of pressure. And it's going to be fun. Let's move over to the East. Miami versus Atlanta. Miami is the number 1 seed in the East. Everyone seems to forget about them because they're not the super teams. They're very well coached. Eric Spoelstra's doing his thing. You got Kyle Lowry now running the ship for them. Tons of playoff experience. They were in the playoffs in the bubble against the Lakers. And they're going to beat the Hawks. They will. They'll beat the Hawks because they're a better team. But the Hawks have so much firepower that don't be surprised if it takes 6 games to get it done. 76ers versus Raptors. 76ers are the favorite here in a 4 versus 5 matchup. And they have Joel Embiid, another MVP candidate. I'm going to stick with the Raptors because I'm a Raptors fan. And I like our team, and I think they can spread the floor, and they have multiple weapons. The thing will be injuries, because it's going to be a physical series, and all of our weapons have to be hitting. I know a lot of people or analysts say, well, they can hit you from a lot of different people any night. So if someone's having a bad night, someone else picks up the slack. Not against a team that plays defense like Philly. They all have to be hitting to make sure that it gets secured. Next, Milwaukee Bucks versus the Chicago Bulls. Chicago Bulls has former Raptor DeMar DeRozan. They've had a great season. They're really good. But honestly, I said this in private conversations before. Whoever runs into Milwaukee is dead in the water. I'm so glad that's not the Raptors. Milwaukee's a juggernaut, and they're not going to stop. Milwaukee will win that in 5, possibly a sweep. And then this is possibly the matchup. Even though I'm a Raptors fan, this is the matchup I'm really excited to see how it plays out. Boston versus Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn Nets, of course, powered by Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and pretty much nobody else. Except Seth Curry. Seth Curry's bombing. He's a really good shooter. The reason why it's so interesting to me is that's Boston pretty much built their team around 3 athletic young superstars. Obviously, Jason Tatum is their guy, but they also built it around Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart. All forward, guard, 5 different positions type of guys. They play really well. They're very similar to how the Raptors were built, so I'm very excited to see that matchup. And plus, Boston really finished the season strong. So when you talk about trending up going into the playoffs, that's Boston. When you talk about backing into the playoffs, as in you basically lost your way in, that's going to be Brooklyn. So that's going to hurt them. And of course, there's a little animosity because of how Kyrie treated the Celtics when he was playing there. That's kind of old news, but I guarantee the fans haven't forgot, and they will let him know. And maybe that throws them off a bit when they play in Boston. Who knows? Okay, so we'll move to the second round now. So in the second round, I would have Phoenix playing the Utah Jazz in the West. I'm going to take Phoenix again. They're too good. Not a whole lot to say there. They're too damn good. Their bench is good. Their starters are good. It doesn't matter. They're really, really good. And Rudy Gobert is negated because of, DeAndre Ayton in Phoenix. Big man who plays a traditional big man role. So, yeah, Rudy might get 14 and 10, 14 points, 10 rebounds. Ayton's going to do the exact same on the other side, and those two negate each other then. Both have rim protection. The other matchup in the second round would be the Golden State Warriors versus the Memphis Grizzlies. This is a super hard matchup. It would be the 3 versus the 2. And if it gets there, I'm going to count on the experience of Golden State. I think Steven Adams would be a huge factor in that series. And, of course, Dillon Brooks. Canadian, by the way. Memphis Grizzlies guard Dillon Brooks. Canadian. He's oversized for a guard. He's very, very strong. And he is an excellent, excellent defender. He's possibly my favorite player in Memphis, the Memphis series. Any series they're in, watch Dillon Brooks. He's outrageous. And so he would help slow down some of the firepower coming out of Golden State. But I'm going to count on the experience of Golden State and take Golden State to win that one. Which means the next matchup would be Phoenix versus Memphis, 1 versus 2. Like, I know I'm taking the higher seeds to win, but honestly, they're higher seeds after a long season for a reason. And I'm still going to take Phoenix to win because Memphis, I believe, will have to work harder in the first 2 rounds. You're going to look at potential injuries. You're going to look at fatigue, things like that. And I think Phoenix will have, honestly, an easier route. And they'll just continue to roll because everyone knows when you get hot in the playoffs, it's tough to stop a team that's hot. So I think I'm going to take Phoenix. Phoenix is going back to the final. There you go. Phoenix is going back to the final. That's right. I said it. Second round in the East. Going to have Miami Heat versus the Toronto Raptors. I am a Raptors fan, but I see the Miami Heat winning that because they have too many weapons. It's not going to be the top Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet matchup. Kind of negates itself. Jimmy Butler, Pascal Siakam kind of negates itself. Duncan Robinson, Gary Trent Jr., if he's shooting well, negates itself. But then the bench for the Heat just gets too good. And we have no answer for Bam Adebayo. We have guys that are big and are going to try. Precious Achiuwa, Kem Birch, they're going to try. But Bam Adebayo, that boy's special. And they're consistent. And Miami's just a juggernaut. And I would take Miami to win that. Second round, other in the East would be the Milwaukee Bucks running into the Boston Celtics. Boston obviously looking for a little bit of revenge, but I'm saying the same thing about Milwaukee that I'm saying about Phoenix. They are that damn good, and I take Milwaukee to win it. They're big, they're long, they're gelling as a team with their new acquisitions, including Serge Ibaka, who's a definite problem. Things like that. And yeah, I'm going to take Milwaukee to beat that one. and especially because same thing, fatigue after the first round. Milwaukee's going to have easier case with Chicago than Boston would have with Brooklyn. So by the time Boston gets to Milwaukee through Brooklyn, it could be a tougher route, and fatigue and injuries, things like that happen. So I'm going to take Milwaukee. And then Miami versus Milwaukee. That's a tough matchup. I take Milwaukee. I do. I'm going to take the Milwaukee Bucks to return to the NBA Finals. So yes, I'm saying it's a Milwaukee Phoenix NBA Finals again. They're going to run it back. They're going to run it back from last year. And last year's finals was really good games, but this time I have the Phoenix Suns winning. Partially because I'm an old school Phoenix Suns fan, but I feel like they have learned a lot from their defeat in the finals last year. Their whole purpose and goal this year was to get back to the finals. They started out that with a franchise record 63 wins or 65 wins or something crazy like that. Fun fact, if you didn't know this, Chris Paul has been on 4 teams where he led that franchise to franchise record wins in a season. So maybe our MVP candidates shouldn't just be stat stuffers. They should be people that actually change the culture. Now, I'm not condoning everything Chris Paul does. I think he can be a very dirty player and he cries a lot and all that other stuff. But he affects winning. And isn't that what your most valuable player does? Just saying. But I'm going to have the Phoenix Suns, 2022 champions, over the Milwaukee Bucks in the finals. You heard it here. All right, let's watch the playoffs and have some fun. Thanks for checking in.